David Fincher and I were arguing about the Coke machine, and he said, that looks like an 80s Coke machine. I said, actually, it's 70s. And he said, no, but the fountain heads look 80s. And I said, you are correct, the fountain heads look 80s, but the body is from the 70s. Hi, welcome to Gardena Cinema. I'm Judy Kim, and I own the theater. I'm not independently wealthy. It just so happens to be the theater that I grew up in because it was a family business. So Gardena Cinema was built in 1946, and my parents bought it and took over in 1976. So it's been in my family for 50 years, ever since I was a little girl. And so it looks a little bit different than when it was in 1976, but pretty much the structure is still the same. There's really no changes in the structure. So my mom added some neon, so we have a neon light that in the lobby that says Gardena Cinema. We added some black glass to make it a little more shiny, and yeah, so we have posters that are in our poster case. These poster cases were here, but the poster display was actually handmade by my dad. So he made all of these coming soon poster case displays. And we have Kill Bill on display because we're going to show Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair, for Christmas Day, or Christmas Eve and Day, and New Year's Eve and Day, because I just feel like it's an epic movie, and it's 5 hours long, and if anyone's gonna spend 5 hours in a movie theater, it's probably gonna be during the holidays. So I figured it's a great Christmas movie. It's fun, and it's got a great family-oriented ending. So, and then over here we've got Franken-Claus. He's here to take pictures with all of our guests. And then we have a nice little backdrop that says Friends of Gardena Cinema and Gardena Cinema. So very few people understand like what I'm doing. I'm actually a licensed attorney, and I was trying to figure out like how to keep the theater open because my mom had passed away after a 6-year battle with cancer, so she died in 2022. My brother is married and lives overseas, so he's not involved with the running of the business anymore. So it's just me and my 85-year-old father, and he really can't work. So I thought, I can't really run this place by myself. So I started asking for volunteers who would be interested in helping out and keeping the place open. And then I started getting donations, and I was like, well, wait, I don't have a nonprofit organization. So I quickly registered the Friends of Gardena Cinema as a 501c3 nonprofit organization to support the Gardena Cinema, and the goal is to raise enough money to buy out the Gardena Cinema and transfer all of our assets into the nonprofit. In the last 2 years, we've raised about $20,000, which is very far from our goal of $15 million, but I think we can do it. It just will take time, and hopefully people will continue to participate in our quarterly auctions that we have online, and we have a membership program. It's only $25 for the year, and we have, we have events every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we're trying to expand our calendar as long as I can get volunteers to help out. And so we display posters in our poster cases for the posters that we're selling. I have posters going all the way back to 1995. I have over 10,000 posters. I never got rid of any of my posters, and I realized, oh, you know what? People want these posters. So we are starting from today and going backwards. So we're getting into the 2000s now, the early 2000s and the late 1990s. And we're pulling out posters, and every quarter, or every 4 months actually, we do a flash poster sale in our lobby, and we give deep discounts. Normally we sell them throughout the whole year any day, but for those particular flash sales, we give deep discounts for people who buy a lot of posters. So the more you buy, the cheaper it will be per poster. And then here's our snack bar. It's not quite the snack bar from 1976, but it's very similar. Our machine is the original machine from the late 70s, and our popcorn is from the mid 90s. And these are newer, they're recent. But yeah, so we have that display. Our menu is original from probably the 90s. The wood paneling that you see is actually a set piece from the movie Dolemite Is My Name, which was directed by Craig Brewer and stars Eddie Murphy. And it was shot here. So if you watch Netflix, you can watch it. And it's like a 100-minute movie, and 15 minutes of it, that's like more than 10% of the movie, is shot here in the Gardena Cinema, which is a stand-in for the Uptown Cinema. So we basically are supposed to be located in Indiana. So, and this looks like a typical movie theater in Indiana or anywhere in America that was built in the 40s. So we will learn a lot about American history based on this movie theater and what was happening during the time that this theater was built. So follow me. This here are also not the original doors. This is a set piece that was from a recent movie shoot, which is the sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, called The Continuing Adventures of Clifford Booth, which stars Brad Pitt and is directed by David Fincher, an excellent and fantastic director. And it was shot here at the Gardena Cinema in July and August of this year, 2025. So they asked if I wanted my original doors back, but I really like these doors because they have these crescent-shaped windows, which I thought were really pretty, and my dad liked them, so I told him they could leave them here. So we have these doors. You'll recognize them from the movie when it comes out in 2026, and it will be on Netflix. Come on in. So this is our auditorium. It's a little bit dark in here, but we have the original seats from 1946. These seats are made out of metal, sheets of, I don't know what kind of metal it is. I think it's steel or maybe aluminum. Maybe it's a compound of the two. But they have armrests that are wood, and if you'll notice, they have armrests that are also cup holders. These plastic cup holders were installed by my parents in the 90s. If you know a little bit about movie theater history, you'll know that cup holders did not exist until I think the late 70s, maybe the early 80s is when they were invented. So these wood armrests are actually what was common in movie theater auditorium seats. But we removed all of them in the middle and had cup holders put in there because what we found was people would put their soda cups on the floor and then they'd kick them over in the dark room and then they'd spill and then you'd have sticky floors. Hence, you know, theaters were known for sticky floors. So, you know, and so we would always constantly have to mop. So the cup holders were a great invention to prevent you from kicking over your soda cup. So there's that. Let's see, there's the auditorium probably has about 750 something seats in the auditorium, and the projection booth to the screen is probably about 100 feet throw. We have also, we have two balconies which are called crying rooms, and the crying rooms in 1946 were so that people with babies who cried could leave the auditorium during the movie and go upstairs and take care of their crying baby and not miss the movie, because in the crying room, it's a glass enclosed balcony room, there's speakers and it's soundproof, but you can still watch the movie through the glass and hear the movie from the speakers. And so it was a great way for people to take care of their baby without missing the the movie. I would like to point out that these red curtains that are along the walls are decorative, but they also serve a purpose of absorbing some of the sound that gets bounced off the brick walls. A little trivia fact is that these walls are actually not straight, they're curved, which is why we have really fantastic acoustics in here, and everybody always says, it sounds fantastic in here. And that's because the walls are round, the roof is a barrel roof, the roof is round. So like the ceiling right now is, you know, we have like lights up there, but it's not round, but the roof itself is round. So like there's a lot of good acoustics in here. There's a decorative wall piece that runs along the back of the theater to the front, and that's actually recently added. That was added during the David Fincher movie shoot. So that's part of what happened. And then like our floors are yellow. That actually was a change during the David Fincher movie shoot also. So this here is the stage in front of the screen. There's only about 4.5 feet deep of a stage. It's enough for a stand-up comedian to perform, which, by the way, Bill Burr has performed at the Gardena Cinema to a full house. And these curtains, you can't really see them. I should probably go turn on the lights upstairs, but the curtains open up and we have a 40-foot wide scope screen, CinemaScope screen. We have masking for CinemaScope, which is, I believe, 2.35 aspect ratio. And then you have flat, which is 1.85 aspect ratio. When this theater was open, the typical aspect ratio was 1.33. So it's practically a square. And the original proscenium is behind the screen. Over the years, as the aspect ratio kept getting wider and wider, we had to pull the screen forward and make it wider. So that's why you can't see the original proscenium, because it's hiding behind the current screen. So yeah, anyway, and if you look back there, you'll see our two crying rooms. The one on the left is, now, we used to have a lot of birthday parties up there for kids, but now we use it as a green room for some of our high profile celebrities that come for Q&As and stuff like that. We hide them up there and they have a nice bird's eye view of the auditorium. They can see what's going on. And then on the right side, I use it as a closet because I have over 10,000 movie posters. I also have some cutouts of John Travolta and Nicolas Cage up there because we bring them out every November 30th because we celebrate Nancy Kim Day. Nancy Kim was my mom, and that was her birthday, and her very favorite movie of all time was Face Off. And so every November 30th, we show Face Off at the Gardena Cinema in celebration of Nancy Kim Day. We also give Nancy awards to our top volunteers of the year. And one of these days, I hope to bring John Travolta and Nicolas Cage here to celebrate Nancy Kim Day. I'm hoping that maybe, oh, my phone's ringing, hang on. Let's see. Gardena Cinema, may I help you? Okay, fantastic. I hope to see you. Please introduce yourself when you come over. I'll be the person at the snack bar selling popcorn. Yay, okay. Where was I? So, like I said, Nancy Kim Day is celebrated every November 30th. And so I'm kind of still recovering from the aftermath and all of my catering stuff. This year we had a big buffet. So we served Hawaiian food for our fundraising event for Nancy Kim Day. You know, I have this rule, like going up and down the stairs has gotten harder and harder over the years. So I have this rule, like if you go upstairs, never go empty-handed. That's why I'm carrying that. And when you go downstairs, never go empty-handed. Like when I come down, I should be carrying something. Like don't waste a trip up and down the stairs. Come on in. Oh, I should show you the crying room. It's messy up here, sorry. And watch your step because I got stuff from the auction that I'm staging over here. And people are going to be picking it up to give as gifts for Christmas. Here's my crying room. Check it out. So there's like 24 seats in here. Can you imagine being like a 9-year-old kid and having your birthday up here and having like 20 of your best friends just hang out with you and just like watching Pokemon and talking about how awesome this movie is and how, you know, how awesome it is. And you can scream as loud as you want. You can laugh as loud as you want. You can talk during the movie because this here, it's glass. It's soundproof. It does say do not touch because I got tired of wiping kids' little fingerprints off the window, and but it is glass, and so it's very, you know, it's kind of nice. Like we have 3 speakers. It is not surround sound here because it was 1946. I do have left, right, center channels though. So people always want to sit up here and watch a movie, and I'm like, no, if you want the best experience, you need to sit in the auditorium because that auditorium has really amazing acoustics and it's surround sound. You want to experience the surround sound. But if you want to have like a really cool private party, this balcony room is pretty cool, the crying room. I just, you know, you can only imagine what it must have been like to be like a new mom. Like, let's just say you're 22 years old, you just had a baby and your baby's being fussy. You come up here and you have to take care of your baby because your baby's hungry, right? So you got to take care and feed your baby. And then when you're all done, you just leave and go back downstairs and join your husband in the auditorium again. So, nowadays, we have people who are kind of high profile. I don't want them to get mobbed by the audience. So I've had famous directors like Sean Baker and David Zucker. I've also had famous rock bands like the Dickies. They played the theme song for the movie Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and we've had them here twice now. And we had the Circle Jerks, which is a very famous punk band that was in a movie called Repo Man. And so we showed Repo Man and we had the Circle Jerks play here. And so we need to give them an area for their band and their entourage to like relax and rest before the show starts. So we use this room as sort of a green room for them. And the other one that we have on the other side, like I said, is a closet. It's very messy. It's full of movie posters. And that's where I keep a lot of like auction items that I'm putting up on the auction for sale. What we do oftentimes is when we have famous people come to the cinema, we have them autograph the stuff. Like, I'm waiting, I can't wait, but I had 2 Fight Club posters that I kept from like 1990, whatever year it came out. And I sent them off to go have Brad Pitt and David Fincher autograph them. I haven't gotten them back yet, but I also sent a Moneyball poster for Brad Pitt to sign. So I can't wait to get them back and put them on the auction. I really think that they'll bring in a lot of money, probably enough to pay at least 1 month's of electricity bill. So my electricity bill is in the thousands every month. So it does cost a lot of money to run this place. And so my monthly nut is pretty high, and that's why we're constantly selling movie posters and, you know, vinyl albums that are autographed by the Circle Jerks and by the Dickies, and, you know, all of that just keeps the theater able to keep the theater running. And it's just like really, really hard. And I'm, like I said, I'm like, sometimes I feel like a one-woman show. I have a lot of volunteers, but remember, volunteers volunteer. Like, it's supposed to be fun and at their convenience. So the one person that must be here to take delivery of when something's going to arrive or if something's got to get picked up, that would be me. So if something breaks down, that would be me fixing it, or making sure to meet whatever tech is supposed to come to fix it. So, and of course, everything costs money. So that would be me. Anyway, so let's go to the projection booth so you can see what it looks like. And that itself is like a history lesson in cinema. So come on in. Let's head over to the projection booth. So I want you to see that this door is made out of metal. It also has a sign, which you probably cannot see. It says EAS Fire Door Lab for opening in vertical something, but it has like some serial number, and it's like a little metal label on the door that basically says it is UL approved. So this is what it was like in 1946. Why? Because sprinklers had not yet been invented. Remember that. They didn't get invented until after this theater was built. So this theater is not protected by sprinklers. And so they had to figure out how to prevent fires from very flammable nitrate film. And so what their conclusion was to like basically build it in a metal box and then figure out a way to suppress a fire if a fire should break out. And the projectionist was not allowed to leave the room once the movie started because in case of a fire, they had to be there to help put it out or burn and die. So basically, that's what it was like in the 40s. Come on in. Welcome to the projection booth. So this booth is from 1946, and back in those days we did have film and everything had to be safety film. This is one of the, they used to roll these around the film rolls, and then that way you would know what the film was and what reel number it was and what order to put it in. This is actually from Harriet the Spy, which I believe was probably sometime in the 90s. And it was for a short film called Hey Arnold. I don't know if you remember that. But I kept it because I think we forgot to put it on one of the reels. And we just kept it hanging here forever. And it's been here for like 30 years now. But I like it because it's kind of part of what the history of the theater is. So there's that. This here is my box for all my amplifiers for sound. This here is my amplifier for my front speakers, for the bass and all of that, the subwoofers. That box right there is my dimming system. So when the house lights get dim and dark, it's because of that machine right there. This is like all my like miscellaneous stuff. I used to keep 35mm trailers on these shelves, and that's how I stayed organized, but we don't do 35mm film anymore. So this here is one of my favorite pieces of equipment in the projection booth, which is my spotlight. It is a quartz follow spotlight by Capital, which I think was probably from the 40s, might be from the 50s or 60s, but it's definitely like older than I am. So I love this thing. It has gels in different colors: red, pink, gray, green, blue, yellow. It's great. I can like put different hues of color on it and it still works. This electrical power line was really frayed and dangerous, but my dad happens to be an electrical engineer and he was able to replace it and put a modern electrical plug and line on it. So I'm very thankful for my dad because without him I wouldn't have been able to run this place. I'm going to turn on the lights for the stage, so now you can see the curtains on the stage. These, and then I've got, these are great. Do you see the neon in the cove on the sides that run along the sides of the wall at the top? They're called cove lighting because they're deep in a cove, but it's neon lighting and it has like this really nice glow and it gives a nice look to the auditorium, but it is bright when the movie's playing, so we really don't turn it on unless we have like a really special event. So I turn it off for the most part. And I don't really keep it that bright on stage. I like to keep it kind of dim. It saves on energy, and also, like, you know, I only put it really bright when we have special guests doing a Q&A. And then this here, this here is my Christie 35mm projector. And, you know, I got my sound head right here, my Dolby Digital sound head. And I've got my lens, and it does change to flat, from flat to scope. I got, you know, the gate right here and all the gears, and you would thread it and it would run. And then, you know, this is what we call a single projector system. And that became very popular in the 80s and late 80s and early 90s. Basically, in the olden days, you would have 2 projectors reel to reel, and you'd have to do a changeover when it got to the end of the reel. Now, the reels are different sizes. So like the small one, which I have a sample of, come over here. So like this is a small reel. This reel is what we call the standard reel that they would go in canisters, and you would have like anywhere from like 6 to 8 of these reels, and it would create one feature-length movie. But this holds about 22 minutes of film. And then if you had 2 of these, you would build it up onto a bigger reel, and it would hold about 44 minutes of film. That big reel is hanging on our door back there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's the only one I have left now, and I'm not getting rid of it because it's probably worth a lot of money now because they don't exist. So you used to have 44 minutes, and then the perfect movie would be 88 minutes, right? So like you'd have 4 reels, and you'd only do one changeover with that large reel. And so that's why most movies before, 1980 were about 90 minutes or less. Now, it's really unfortunate if you went over 88 minutes. That meant that you had to have an extra reel, which meant that it would cost more to ship it. And film distributors didn't like that. So they really made their filmmakers edit their movie so that it would be under 90 minutes. So, but now you have, once you switched over to what's called a single projector system, now you're feeding all the film on a platter. So come on over this way. This here is a platter. Now, I don't really use it anymore because I don't do 35 millimeter. And as you can see, I just put like all these digital hard drive boxes on here, but it's like a shelf now. But basically it would spin, and it would spin very fast. And you would put the film, roll it up on here, and it would come out to here. When we showed Titanic on film, it was all the way almost out to the edge. It was really scary, actually, because I'd never seen a film go all the way that far because Titanic was such a long movie. But anyway, you'd thread it all the way to the projector, and then it would come out of the projector and then go on to the next platter, and then it would self-rewind itself. So in the olden days, you would have to, this is called a build-up table, and you'd have to put the film on here, and you would have to rewind each reel. But with a self-rewinding system, you no longer had to do that. My dad really likes this table. It's an Italian table. It's called an Italian build-up table. And we have these like cabinets that you could keep the empty reels in here and then use them to rewind. We kept it, so we never get rid of anything. You'll find that like movie theater owners, or at least individual movie theater owners, like family-run movie theaters, they never throw anything away because they always feel like, well, we might need it just in case, so we keep everything. Even though I haven't used this build-up table in probably close to 10 years, I have not used the 35 millimeter projector since 2018, and this platter has not been used since 2018. Yeah, but we kept it all. I didn't want to get rid of it. And there's a little part of me that says, maybe one of these days we will play 35 millimeter, but I don't know, we'll see. This is my digital projector. This is also a Christie. We are very, very loyal to Christie. And we are very loyal to Dolby and Christie. Those are the 2 equipments that we like to equip our projection booth with. Number 1, they're American companies, and number 2, they're California companies, and we are in California. So we like to support our fellow businesses in California. And they're also, all their equipment are like, they are workhorses. If you treat them right, they will treat you right. That's how I feel. So anyway, I am loading Kill Bill right now, and I'm gonna check the progress. It is done. So now I can do a quick tech check. That means I have to turn on the projector. Before I turn on the projector, I actually have to turn on the fans. I have very powerful fan systems. One is on the roof and one is on our ceiling. So it extracts the heat out from this projector, because this can get very, very hot because of the xenon lamp that we use to project onto the screen. The xenon lamp is extremely hot, so it has to have the air, the hot air, extracted out so that cool air can go in and cool down the lamps. And then it gets blown out into the air on the roof. And so there's another extraction fan on the roof to take out the hot air and blow it out of the building. So that's what we're gonna do next. But before I do that, I do need to tell you that the projection booth had to have a fire suppression system. Currently we have these fire extinguishers and stuff like that, but we really, it's not a real concern anymore because we show digital now. But back in the days when you showed nitrate film, and those were highly flammable, and remember these xenon lamps are extremely hot, so they would catch fire. You had to have a fire suppression system, and because sprinklers were not invented in 1946, what they did was they created these steel plates that they put over the windows. These are called guillotine. It's called a guillotine fire suppression system, and it was held up by a rope tied to a pipe that would basically be held up by another rope. And if a fire broke out, the fire would burn through the rope, release the pipe, and release the guillotine plates down the window, over the window, and suppress the fire. So it would basically, you would suppress the fire by, getting rid of all the oxygen in the room. And so it would be contained in this metal box room, and hopefully wouldn't spread to the rest of the theater. And the people can, you know, evacuate the auditorium in case of a fire. So, but yeah, it was, we kept ours intact. We never removed it. But apparently, according to the Los Angeles Historic Theater Foundation, we are probably the only theater in all of Los Angeles County that still has this guillotine system still intact. So it's kind of a museum piece now. It's not really functional anymore because I think it's been painted over a couple times and the paint has basically made it stuck in its place. But it's kind of nice to look at though. We did have to get rid of that guillotine when we put in our digital projector because the porthole had to be enlarged for the 3D system that we installed. And because once a movie started, the projectionist was not allowed to leave the projection booth. There had to be a toilet and a sink in the projection booth. So over there, you'll see that there's a partition wall that is hiding a toilet, and then in front of the toilet is a sink. There's no door because most projectionists in the 40s and 50s and 60s were men. And they were by themselves in the projection booth, so they really didn't need a door for privacy. The projection booth door would be closed, and that was their privacy. It's a very lonely job because you were always by yourself, just watching machines whir and watching the gears turn and just making sure that nothing went wrong. And if something did go wrong, you immediately took the necessary steps to fix it. So that was your job as a projectionist. And at one point, the Projectionist Union was a very powerful union because it had so many projectionists. But once you went to a single projection system, you lost a lot of projectionists because now you only needed to do, you didn't need to do changeovers. It would just start the movie and then rethread it when it ended. So, you had a lot of teenagers be able to do the threading of the film and setting up. And so the Projectionist Union got smaller and smaller, and then digital projection came into being, and now you really don't need projectionists anymore. So there are very few film projectionists around now. There's still a union. It's just not as huge as it used to be during its peak in the 80s, so or 70s, late 70s. So anyway, there's that. So there's that. Let's go into our power room. So this here, it says, there's a little sign that says danger, high voltage, and that's because this is our power room. Our power room is the brain of all the electricity in the building. So this was my dad's workshop. Back in the day when we had reel-to-reel projection, gears would often like fail or parts would break. And if they broke, you had to wait until Monday to order it. And that meant the whole weekend you couldn't make any money because the projection couldn't work. And so my dad, being the electrical engineer that he was and being very handy, he would actually make backup parts here. He would literally lathe the parts and then install them in the projection machine equipment, and we would wait until Tuesday when the part arrived, and then he would take out the temporary part that he made and then put in the OEM manufacturer's part into the projector. So that's how we ran. We never went dark. So that was an amazing thing. It's really quite amazing if you think about it, because moving parts are always breaking. So that's why digital is quite a beautiful thing now, because now you have solid state equipment and nothing is moving, so there's less likelihood for something breaking down and having to replace it unless it's old. So these are the original circuit breakers, and they still work. They have the screw-in fuses, and they're still working. This is for our marquee, and these are what we call magnetic contactors, and they're very powerful. And when they click and go together, it's the power turns on and the marquee lights turn on. And then when they separate, the power gets disrupted and there's no more power, so the marquee lights turn off. My dad, being the electrical engineer that he is, put a timer on here so that it would automatically turn on at the set time that I set, which right now I have it at 4:30 because it gets dark during the winter at 4:30. And I usually have it turn off at about 9:30-ish. But when I'm here, I override that and I have it on until the last customer leaves, and then I turn it back off. So anyway, this is my power room and my dad's workshop. My dad's 85 now and he's blind in one eye. He can no longer handle power tools because it's too dangerous for him. So I don't allow him to have power tools anymore. I don't want him to hurt himself. But so a lot of stuff has moved downstairs because I don't want him going up and down the stairs anymore. And I'm in the process of cleaning out this room so that I can use this as storage. We don't really need any of the equipment anymore. So I'm kind of slowly cleaning up, and I'll probably throw something in an auction saying that this was the original, whatever from 1970. But a lot of times I'll just recycle stuff if it's metal or if it's cardboard. Anyway, so there's that. That's my power room. There's really very little room in these buildings because if you know buildings that were built in the 40s, all they did was they were functional like shelters, basically. They only had the minimum rooms that you needed that were required. And this room here, I don't have the key for it right now, but it's a inventory room. So this is where I stock all my cups and lids and popcorn bags and candies and supplies. And there, yeah, sometimes I put toilet paper in the hallway. All of these are like popcorn bags that I bought like in bulk. And some of these items are items that we're going to sell in our auction. I have the Godfather family album, which eventually will probably go on the auction block, but it's a really nice, beautiful photo book of the Godfather. Yeah, okay, so anyway, and I got paper towels, and yeah, I'm going to close this curtain because I'm OCD about things, and I like them to be a certain way, And if they are not, I know that somebody's tampered with it. So come on down. Here's the snack bar. This is my typical location where I can be found when the theater's in operation and open to the public. I'm usually back here. But we sell slushies, we sell, sodas out of the fountain that's original 1970s, which by the way, I have a fun little story about that. David Fincher and I were arguing about the Coke machine, and he said, that looks like an 80s Coke machine. I said, actually, it's 70s. And he said, no, but the fountain heads look 80s. And I said, you are correct, the fountain heads look 80s, but the body is from the 70s. And the way that you can tell is because the body of it has like this faux wood grain sticker on it, which was very popular in the 70s. Wood paneling was very popular in the 70s. So anyway, behind this wood panel from Dolemite Is My Name is actually mirror, because mirror was very popular in the 80s and 90s, so there's mirror back there. So sometimes people think, oh, I can nail something into the wall. I'm like, please don't do that. You're gonna nail right into the mirror and then you're gonna get 7 years bad luck. So I don't allow anything to be nailed into the wall in the snack bar wall because there's a mirror back there. So yeah, we have popcorn, nachos, all beef hot dogs, candy, canned and bottled drinks. We have this very old Casio cash register, which practically me and only 2 or 3 other volunteers know how to operate, as it's so old. So we're trying to transition over to a point of sale computer system. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. The neon here is installed by my mom. And I remember when she installed the neon, my brother and I were shocked. And we were like, Mom, this is not a nightclub. But now I'm so used to it and it's very pretty. And I can't imagine our snack bar without the neon now. So anyway, that's the Gardena Cinema. I hope you enjoyed our tour, and I hope to see you at Gardena Cinema. Hopefully you'll come visit us. We are located on Crenshaw between Marine Avenue and 147th Street. And we're very close to the SoFi Stadium, so if you're ever at the SoFi Stadium, please drive another 4 miles south and you'll hit us. We'll be on your left-hand side. So we have free parking that's adjacent to the cinema. We have plenty of street parking too, but that parking lot is 30,000 square feet and fits 100 vehicles. So I don't think you should have problems finding a parking spot here unless it's a sold-out show like the Circle Jerks and Repo Man, which we just did in November. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, and hopefully I'll see you at the movies. Thank you. Bye.